Hi, welcome to the Mohua Show. My name is Mohua Chinappa, and I am an author, entrepreneur, and ex housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in this episode, we have with us Captain Guru Ramaswamy Iyengar Gopinath, a well known Indian entrepreneur, retired captain of the Indian Army, author, and politician. Captain Gopinath is the founder of Air Deccan, India's first low cost airline, which revolutionized air travel in the country. He's also the author of the best selling book Simply Fly, A Deccan Odyssey, which details his journey as an entrepreneur. Today, we have the opportunity to chat with Captain Gopinath about his life, his experiences, and his views on different topics. So, the first question, let me just start by asking you, tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into the aviation industry?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a long story. That's what my book, Simplify, captured, which was made into a movie in Tamil. Uh, and also won five national awards. And now it's getting made into a Hindi movie by the actor Akshay Kumar. The Tamil one was acted by Surya. Uh, of course, it is as all these biopics, it's quite fictionalized and dramatized, but the essence of it is true. It is the story of a village boy who was born in a remote village, went barefoot to a school. I never went to school till my fifth standard. My father taught me at home and started my first school on when I was about, I think, 8 in the fifth standard. So it is a story in one sense. My story is and the story of Air Deccan is the story of the new India, the India of possibilities. That if you dare to dream and commit to your dream and combine your dream with adventure and um, iron labor, you will realize your dreams in your own lifetime. As Walt Disney famously said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And I think most of us know it many times that you dream of something, you want it badly enough, it soon happens. And of course, you also lose your dreams when you do not stay true to the beliefs that you in which you started out your dreams on.
So, what inspired you to start Air Deccan and what were some of the challenges you faced in launching a low cost airline in India?
The thing was that, as I said, after my village school, I joined a military school, the Sainik school. Then I went to the National Defense Academy in Khadakwasla, Pune. Then I joined the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. The course was cut short. I went straight to the Bangladesh War. Uh, we moved to Siliguri from Sikkim, where my unit was, and moved into Bangladesh for the Liberation War in 71. And I was in Dinajpur and Rangpur with my army unit, 52 Mountain Regiment. Bangladesh was liberated, and I was posted in Sikkim, in Bhutan, in the Assam border, then in of course, the Chinese border, and then Kashmir and other parts of India. And after 8 years, I was feeling a bit restless, and I resigned and I took a premature retirement, and I wanted to come back to my village and took to farming. And it was not the farm which had a ready-made farm which I inherited from my father. My father was a teacher in a school, and we had small land holdings because all our lands were submerged into the river. And they built a dam. And overnight, 60 villages were submerged, and many, it typically happens, which you read about when you hear the stories of from people like Meda Patkar. It's very true that they become exiles in their own land, because the government comes and with bulldozers and come and demolish the houses, and they take over the land forcibly. The same thing happens when I think mining companies are granted licenses, tribals are uprooted. It's like a mother, being separated from a child. So it's not that when a village is submerged and people are asked to move, they don't get the compensation in one go for the land because it's given in bits and pieces. A lot of middlemen pocket it, and and again you're given land in another place which is a barren, unreclaimed land, and there's no infrastructure there. There's no school there, no hospital, no roads, no water, drinking water, no electricity. a similar kind of land was given to my family. I went and moved there because of my army background. Thanks to it, took a tent, an army dog, a Doberman dog, and I took a small boy from my village and went and pitched a tent and lived in the farm, and or rather lived in those lands and converted to a farm. My dream was to convert it, that barren land, full of shrubs and unreclaimed land. My dream was to convert it into a coconut farm. So I was green as a novice, but I had this dream that I could make something out of my life. I could live on the land, read books, take long walks, work in the fields, have coconut for the long term. That'll take you 10 years, but in the meantime, I'll grow crops. I'll have bananas, which is annual. I'll have quarterly crops like coriander and maize and ragi. Then I'll have a dairy so that I'll get daily income. Had a poultry and had a silkworm rearing. So all these kind of dreams. And as I was dreaming, I also started planning and doing. So there's not much of a gap between my dreaming and doing. So I just plunged into it headlong, and that kind of belief in myself and optimism, um, that things will work out, that if I work hard, I can't fail. That sometimes gets you into trouble, but it also got me out of trouble. So I lived there for 10 years. Yeah, like all farmers, I got into debt. I got out of debt. Did some innovations in farming, especially in organic farming, and realized that what is eco-friendly is low cost. And probably the seeds of my aviation venture were sown there. Where I realized that to be frugal, to innovate with the local people, understanding our culture and our mind from the mud, that'll create success in bringing down costs. And that's what I did. And like they say, the gates to heaven are through the gates of hell. So I went through hell, but eventually saw heaven in farming. Not, I didn't become rich. I cleared all my loans and I moved to Bangalore. Uh, I didn't sell my farm, so I moved to Bangalore to give some education for my children in good schools, and that's where the dreams for my helicopter venture took root and took wings. And I came here in the early 90s, by which time I had become a very famous farmer. I also when I was in the farming for the 10 years in Hassan, in the rural part of Hassan, I also contested an election from a mainstream party, and I lost the elections. Then I got disillusioned with politics the way it was, and because I realized that to make a living, it was not possible through politics unless you dip your hand into the public till, or to take money from people, which I thought was not a great idea. But by which time I was already an entrepreneur. That sort of triggered my imagination and fired my spirits, because I had an Enfield motorcycle dealership, had a Udupi hotel, had a stockbroking company. And when I became a very famous farmer, I also got an award for, rather, I became famous because I got the Rolex Award for entrepreneurship for my work on farming, organic farming. And I became the largest silkworm farmer in Karnataka or India. So all that also gave me courage and confidence to start an agriculture consultancy company where I had about 25 people who were horticulture graduates and civil engineering graduates, where we spread the gospel of organic farming and water conservation and micro irrigation. So during that time, when I was in Bangalore, I met an army buddy of mine who used to be with me in the army, Captain Samuel, and two other buddies, Captain Jayant Puvaya and Vishnu Raval. But basically, the idea came from Captain Sam, who was a helicopter pilot. He said, "Let's do something, in the aviation sector." And he was an outstanding pilot. He was an award-winning, gallantry award-winning pilot. He was a wonderful human being, and that idea, was in my mind. Took deep root. inside me and grew. To cut this short story short, Sam had a job. I already had an entrepreneurial business here. And, Sam had a job somewhere as a administrative officer or a security officer. So one day I told him, why don't you resign your job and let's start the helicopter company? Because actually this took wings in my mind when I was in China. I had gone to China with a delegation of farmers. I took a delegation of farmers from Karnataka to China, and there it was in 1996 already, by which time China was a great capitalist market economy, though it was a communist country in ideology and politics and authoritarian regime. As long as you did not speak against the ruling party, of course, if you spoke against the ruling party, the Communist Party, you would be sent to jail or you would disappear. But otherwise, as long as you don't interfere in politics and as long as you subscribe to the communist ideology, it was a free market. It was more free market than America. So in the Tolek headquarters where I was staying, there were skyscrapers, there were karaoke bars, there were nightclubs, there was dancing, um, you know, and there was a booklet next to my table which said single window agency for investments. I said, oh my God. I said, India was then just on the way to reforms. We were about 15 years behind China then, and I think even today we are about 15 years behind in terms of many of our aspects of our economy, though we are ahead of them still in spite of trends of authoritarianism. We are ahead of China in democracy index, ahead of China in other parameters of free speech, though there are threats to it. So, as I always say, the worst democracy is better than the best communism or the best dictatorship. So, it suddenly passed my mind that we had thousands of pilots and engineers from the Army, Air Force, and Navy without jobs. We did not have a single helicopter company in the South, not one. And there were one with the chief minister in Karnataka. There was one with the chief minister in, and there were old ancient helicopters. There was no helicopter in Kerala, no helicopter in Chennai. Then the country on the way to reforms, not a single helicopter company. That means there's no competition for us. And pilots without jobs. And I think also the Eureka moment was that I felt that if like all countries have a rival, right? It's America and Russia today. It was between France and the UK. It's one time. So India, China was a rival. So if China, a communist country, could become capitalist economy, India cannot remain in isolation. India will not be able to continue as a socialist economy, which was the original model. Indian Steel, Indian Airlines, Indian Post and Telegraphs, everything was government. There was no private sector, except in some sectors of the economy which was controlled. So I knew that the states were competing for investments because politicians had realized that they will not be able to win the election back if they cannot create jobs. And you can't create jobs in the public sector beyond very, very few, which are and not the kind of free market economy jobs. All this, gave me this confidence that no, we can't fail, because India now needs to liberalize. And there was the early days, and the chief ministers were competing with each other to get investments. So I came back and I said, let's start a helicopter company. And Sam joined me. I said, you look after operations. He was the pilot. And I had business experience as an entrepreneur. And I said, I'll look after the commercial side. We were airborne 3 years from the date when we decided we must start the helicopter company.
That's quite a journey, It's an amazing journey. I mean, I don't know actually, there's so much that one can ask you questions about the war, about, starting, an aviation company to being awarded as a, farmer, as you call yourself. And now you're also an author. So, like you've actually donned all the hats. So, tell me a little bit about your book, Simply Fly, Deccan Odyssey. I mean, it's been widely acclaimed for its insights into entrepreneurship and leadership. So, can you share some of the key lessons, from the book for our listeners, who would really like to know? Because India is really right now in that entrepreneurial bug. And we are right now in Bangalore where we keep hearing startups. So, it would be wonderful to know from you what is it that it takes, to accept failure, to accept success, and every day wake up and know that there is a bigger mission ahead. So, what is it that you did?
In the book, also, I've written that it is not a how to book. It's not a book that you typically have how to build a company, how to go public and create a stock market value, how to do the marketing. But actually, I just told the story so that each person discovers his own dreams, follows his own passions by getting inspired by what I had written. Because you typically have, I actually also wrote it for people from the disadvantaged sections of society, because the biggest charity today is to create jobs. And even today, I get mails every day, not for, of course, some people send mails for asking for investments as equity, but nobody asks money as a charity. Everybody wants a job. So I keep getting letters from the a lot of people saying that, can you get me a job? So there's a lot of unemployment in India. Though on the one hand we have all this growth story, there's also a huge disparity between the rich and poor. And there's a lot of educated youth, when I say educated, who have done BA, BCom, BSc, who are not having jobs. So I wrote a story typically for them to say that you have to believe in your dreams. In Kannada, there's a proverb which says that if you have an abscess in your palm, you don't need a mirror. And the mirror usually is a guru. Let's say if you've got an entrepreneurial vision, the typical tendency today is to go and ask a guru, or when I say guru in this case, you're going to ask another successful entrepreneur. It could be Kiran Mazumdar, it could be Narayan Murthy, it could be Bill Gates. You are seeing that vision. They're not seeing it. So, as someone said, vision is the art of seeing the invisible. I think Jonathan Swift said that is vision is a paradox. Vision is seeing, but it is the art of seeing the invisible. And what is the invisible? Invisible is the future. So that future you are seeing, and you have to create that future. To create that future, you need to have self-trust. Self-trust is the first secret of success. To believe in yourself, to believe in your intuition. All of us have a north which is pointing to us in a particular direction. We all hear a particular prompting, a particular voice, which speaks to us, which prompts us. And that is intuition. The rest is tuition. That tuition is important, but this is intuition. If it could be the great rishis, the great sages, they had that perception. Perception is, as someone said, fatal. Once you see it, you see it. You don't need evidence for that. Either it is there or it is not there. Whether it could be a poet like Tagore, or it could be a scientist. They are seeing something, but they're true to themselves. And if he's an entrepreneur, he'll try to discover his vision by doing. Between the knowing and the doing. If you don't have the latter, all your talent is of no use. And if you are a scientist, if you have a hunch that there are certain laws in a particular manner, then you cannot cheat yourself. You can fool others, but you can't cheat yourself, because then you experiment to find out all the ways it does not work. And similarly, an entrepreneur must have that courage to start and begin. As Goethe said, dare to dream and begin it. Boldness has genius and magic and power to it. So you have to begin. That's the first aspect for an entrepreneur, because many of us dream but do not do. And you suddenly say, "Oh my God, I thought of it before," but somebody else has already beaten you to that. So genius is your own thoughts coming back to you when somebody else reveals it to the world. Get started. So when we started this Air Deccan, along with that, you also require persistence. I already spoke of dreaming and the iron labor, but hard work and dreams. But persistence is a little different. That means you don't give up. You will not give up. You will continue. You will have you have failures, but you are not a failure. You are a failure only when you give up. I'm reminded of what I think Edison said when someone asked him, you failed. He did 10,000 experiments before he discovered the electric bulb. He said, I did not fail 10,000 times. I discovered 10,000 ways in which it does not work. So if you're an entrepreneur, maybe that particular aspect of your way of doing is not working out. That doesn't mean you're a failure. So you have to try it in a different manner. Keep persisting. So persistence is more important than talent. And so, just to give you my own life, it took us 3 years to get our license, for example. And that doesn't require talent to get a license. Either you go and give some money to somebody to get a, you want it in a hurry, or you want to take a shortcut, or you want to cut corners, or you're not eligible. So you give money and get it. And as I say, a fool and his money are soon parted. So if you go with a suitcase to Delhi, somebody will take it from you. And half the money he will take, and probably the other half he will give it to bureaucrats and politicians. So, because you keep hearing this from entrepreneurs that, I don't have political connections, I don't have a rich father, I don't have contacts. I'm not well networked. A lot of people today are talking networking. I have to get networked, so I go and join the golf club. People will seek you if you achieve something. And of course, if you know someone, if you help someone, if you have met someone somewhere, it helps. But you cannot plan your success by networking. Networking cannot take precedence over your own belief in your dreams, in your own hard work, in your own innovation. You have to combine your hard work and your dreams with work and innovation. So it took us 3 years. We did not give up. We didn't have a timeline saying that we'll try it for if by next year it doesn't succeed, we'll go back. No, I said, like Vivekananda says, stop not till your goal is reached. We kept going back. So and we didn't have money to stay in five-star hotels, so we stayed in the army messes, which our friends arranged for us. We scrounged every rupee. We didn't visit five-star hotels. We didn't because our single-minded goal was to get our license. Because without a license, because it was and still is a very controlled sector. So because you get one license, the other one is expired. The permission is expired. So we kept going, and eventually one day the minister got fed up and said, take the license. Why didn't you come to me earlier? And another minister said, the others who will pay me money, and I'm not going to take it from an ex-army officer. So there will always be someone who will open the door for you if you're sincere, if you burn with that flame of passion shines through you. You can't simulate it. People will see through you if you're hypocritical. So we did not try to become passionate. We were consumed with that idea. We burnt like a flame with that idea. And someone will always open the door for you. If 10 doors shuts, the 11th will open. And that's what, you see, this history began, or since recorded history, or since life began, there have always been people who are more fortunate than others. So it happens. But you can't become cynical, you can't become critical, skeptical, and start criticizing everything. While that's true that there will be some who will take short corners, who will use bribery, or who will use the influence. Others who will always succeed by sheer dint of their perseverance. The what they call chal in Hindi, or hata in Kannada. And that's what they did. And in the mythological way, some superior force will open the door for you. I'm not superstitious, but I'm just quoting from our mythology. Just like Draupadi got that sari, it is not. You can't be literal and say how can somebody have a sari which will be infinitely long. I think the story there is that it is more a metaphor, or when Krishna puts a chakra and saves the elephant from the crocodile, it's more a metaphor that the good will triumph over evil. So an entrepreneur must pursue his dreams. Things will happen. But I also want to say that you will always be short of funds and resources. As C.K. Prahlad, the famous management guru, a good friend of mine, said, very high aspirations, very high dreams, big dreams, and low resources or lack of resources is a wonderful combination, rather than, low ambitions and lot of resources. It's true for individuals who are starting out on a shoestring budget. It's true for companies. It is also true for families where you have your children. You cannot expect uh, innovations and inventions and new things to be created and success if you have too much of wealth and low ambitions. Of course, if somebody has high ambitions and high wealth, but even then, I think it will not create the same kind of inventions, satisfaction as low resources or absence of resources and high dreams. And in Air Deccan, we had that kind of a condition. So we were two army officers. We started with. I left the army with 6,000 rupees when I came to farming, and when I started the aviation company, my friend and I, we just put about 5 to 6 lakhs each of us. Not that it could get you anything. It would not even get you one blade of a helicopter because the helicopters were costing in crores. But what it showed was that eventually you can get funds by selling your dreams. And for an entrepreneur, what is selling a dream? It is basically getting somebody else to believe in your dreams, and he has the money, and you have the dreams, and you're going to put the sweat, and so you give him shares in your company. And sometimes you become like Narayan Murthy or myself in my own company. You become 5% and create a multi-billion dollar company with 5% shares rather than 100% in a small company. And that's what we did. And but it is a long and arduous journey. So entrepreneurs, whatever, I'm not saying they should do what I did, but whatever field they choose, they have to have continuous enthusiasm. I think that is the wisdom of all life. Enthusiasm every day, regardless of the circumstances. You have to have, without enthusiasm, nothing can be achieved. And it is true then, it's true today, it's true tomorrow. You need to have perennial energy. That is more important than capital. Capital will come to you, but you need to have that energy, uh, not to become despondent. You have to lose yourself in action and not in wallow in despondency or despair. Then you need to have this optimism. You can't be an optimist if you want certainty. Before you start a venture, you want certainty that I must have this certainty on market. I must have this certainty on assurance that the bank will give me money or somebody will help you. You have to literally, using the metaphor from the aviation, you have to start on a wing and a prayer. You jump because there is optimism. Optimism, there are good people. Optimism that the sun will rise tomorrow. Like the farmer, right? Regardless of floods, regardless of drought, the farmer gets up in the morning every day, shoulder to the plow with his wife in tow, even today, goes and plows, never disbelieving it will not rain tomorrow, it never doubting that the seeds that he sows will not sprout, and never questioning if the sun will rise tomorrow. So that kind of optimism, that while there is evil, while there are bad people, while there are corrupt people, there are also good people. That optimism will see you through the day, see you through the worst of your times, in good times and bad times.
This was absolutely amazing. I mean, see, you've got me emotional just listening to you because, it is something that I've not had anybody who's come on my podcast and spoken about optimism. Not even a single, and we've had over, 170 episodes till now. This is just diamond for me. It's moved me so much. So you've also been involved in politics, having contested the Lok Sabha elections in 2009. What motivated you to enter politics, and what do you think are the challenges that today's Indian politics faces?
Because the reason I entered politics was that, I'm not saying everybody should enter politics or should, no, but they should be politically engaged, because man is a political animal, and politics has a bearing on your life, because everything that you do today, whether it's your road that you have, the hospitals that you have, it all depends on politics. And it says politics, for politics of elected democracy or politics of a dictator, it is politics. So if you're not engaged in politics, then you deserve what you get. You deserve, as someone said, you deserve the government you get. And there's too much of, in the early days, too much of criticism sitting in front of the TV, and before that sitting in clubs, and now too much of to the point of poisoning our lives. So you keep getting these messages on WhatsApp, unsolicited messages, even from friends who may not been in touch with, suddenly will send you a message, which are communal in nature, for example, communally divisive in nature. I contested first for a state elections as an MLA many years ago when I was in the farm, because when I became a well-known farmer, I was approached to contest from I was in two minds whether to do it or not, because normally the normally educated youth from middle class families do not want to enter politics because it's considered dirty, it's considered venal, it doesn't have a good reputation, right? But of course, people, even the educated people, go behind politicians for a license. For if you are poor, you want a gas agency, or you want a petrol bunk, or you want any kind of a transfer. People, you see them today. If you go at even 5 o'clock in the morning to your minister's house, you will find 1,000 people in the minister's residence. 1,000. I'm not exaggerating. That is because not this government. I'm talking in the last 15, 20, 30 years. I'm saying that if you go at 4 o'clock in the morning to meet some ministers, because he calls you at 6 o'clock, and you go at four because there's a queue. That's what the poor people do with the villages. It's because the system doesn't work. You don't see it in, not that there's no corruption in the West. You don't see it in Europe, in France, in Germany. When if you go to a minister, you don't find outside his office, thousands of people, waiting with applications for a job or some redressal of grievances. That's when I thought, when they asked me, there's no point, because the politician is you in the mirror. He's not outside. He's my reflection in the mirror. He's from the same soil and the same mud. He's made of the same cultural milieu that I come from. To a large extent, I'm part of the problem and part of the solution. So I said, I must do what I can. And though, of course, this fear was there that I may become sort of changing, I may myself become changed, unable to change the system. Like many people have joined with honorable, lofty intentions, but instead of changing the system, they succumb to the system. That fear also went through me, and that's how I joined politics. But I left politics after that. Then again, in after my airline venture, political parties approached me to join them to contest, and two main political parties, approached me then to join and contest. Was a little reluctant to join because I said the politics was so vitiated, it was so divided on religious lines and caste lines. So I thought, I should contest as an independent, Bangalore South member of parliament. And I thought if I can get the middle class people and the lower middle class people on one platform for change, that becomes the largest vote bank. If you get all the people who want good governance, and the challenge was to get them to vote, because Bangalore, historically, people would go on a vacation. Employees would go on a vacation during elections because a weekend and one day holidays there, they would go. Many of them are not even registered because still it's very cumbersome. So if you want your house registered, you want a birth certificate, you want a marriage certificate, you go and wait in front of a tahsildar's office or a sub registrar's office, or a deputy commissioner's office. You wait for 2 to 3 hours. You want a seat for your son's daughter's child's admission. Wait. You're ready to wait because somebody tells you go and meet so and so a person and a bureaucrat or a MLA. If they make you wait, you wait. But to go and register yourself as a voter, let's say if you come from West Bengal, or if you come from some other part of India and settled here, or if you come back from USA, you do not want to go and wait and get it registered because you feel that, too cumbersome and too much of a hassle, too much of a pain to take. So people don't register. And since they don't have registration, when the voting comes, they leave the town. So in my own case, so I thought, the first and the most important thing is to get people to vote. I said, if I get the educated people, the middle class people and the lower middle class people in Bangalore, if I appeal to them, the people who are working in Toyota, people who are working in Infosys, people who have got basic education of a PUC or a BCom, or a BSc. If I get them to vote, I'll win because I believe that I can offer them hope for change. And so I went and gave talks in Google and Infosys, but I also went door to door in these areas. Bangalore South has got a very highly educated population, but unfortunately, only 48% of the population voted. 48% of the registered voters voted. So there were many who were unregistered. Amongst the registered, only 48% opened. The others did not come. They didn't take the trouble. And also, I think the people didn't vote for me because they felt, the BJP people felt that even if they wanted a change, they said by voting for me, they'll have the Congress to win. They said, sir, if you had contested from BJP, we would have voted for you. And the Congress felt the same thing. And the Congress said that you should have contested from Congress. Now, I'm not in favor of the present Congress candidate, but I can't give my vote to you because BJP will win. So, because they said it'll be a wasted vote, my vote must go to my party. That's what happened, and I lost the elections. But I was trying to make a point to the youth: it's not enough to write software. You have to script your future. You have to create your future. You have to create your own future. And if the youth do not join hands and have a say in shaping the future, you will have no future. And what's the message I gave? I said, even if I fail, I thought it'd be a worthy effort.
So India has definitely seen tremendous economic growth, in the recent years, but there are still many challenges we know. As we just spoke about unemployment, poverty, inequality, social unrest. How do you see India's future coming ahead in the years?
There are two aspects to India. One is on the economy, other is on the communal harmony. And I think both are interlinked. Emerson, the famous essayist from America 150 years ago, said when they had these racial violence and discrimination and segregation in America, he said, trade is a plant uh, which grows wherever there is peace, whenever there is peace, as long as there is peace. That is the ecosystem that you need. If there is no communal harmony, when I say communal harmony between religions and amongst castes, and that is especially in Karnataka today, because we are getting into the elections, the atmosphere is very vitiated. The one is there is a lot of emotive issues, not essential to development. When I say emotive issues, whether we should change the name of General Mark Cubbon to Jayasham Rajendra Park, for example, or whether Tipu Sultan birthdays should be celebrated. These kind of emotive issues which are not essential to development. This is one huge distraction, but that also has a communal tinge. It is basically dividing society. There are, uh, or the hijab controversy, for example. And of course, there's on the one hand, there used to be appeasement of the minorities, especially Muslims, for the vote bank politics to consolidate the Muslim votes, largely by the opposition parties like Congress. And there is a backlash by people because ordinary people believe that the Hindus in their own country, though they're a majority, they're threatened. That's the reason you find these WhatsApp messages from friends in the US and others that, in India, the Muslim population is going to become bigger than the Hindus, which is not true because the government census, or even of the present BJP government, shows that the ratio between the Hindus and Muslims has remained same since independence. The population has increased amongst poor Muslims and amongst poor, uneducated Hindus. This is not to say that Muslim fundamentalism is not there. There is Muslim fundamentalism that should be crushed. And similarly, Hindu fundamentalism or Hindu fanaticism, as we are seeing it today, that also should be completely rooted out. Someone asked me in one of my speeches, can a Hindu cannot be a terrorist? Can a Hindu be a terrorist? I said no. If a Hindu is a terrorist, then he's not a Hindu. We had to root out this fundamentalism on both sides. And also we need to have our own people educate our children. The Hindus must educate children not to hate other religions in their homes more than the schools. Um, you know, whether it is Vivekananda or Paramahamsa, you never heard them, for example, ever, or especially Vivekananda and Paramahamsa, whom the BJP worships. They were proud Hindus. They were religious people. They were not Gnostics. They were not atheists, but they were deeply religious like Gandhi. But they never, Vivekananda or Paramahamsa said, all living beings, forget Hindus, Muslims, are all living, all living things have the same Brahman or the same universal spirit that is in you. And that is what they preach. Aurobindo and Vivekananda and Paramahamsa. That was but today, our Hinduism is not what the Hinduism, which is the Hinduism in the Upanishads, which talks of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or Tattvamasi, that you are that and that is you, that there is a universal spirit in everything. And similarly, it's not just between Hindu Muslim. We have cup panchayats, we have honor killings amongst the Hindus, we have untouchability. No Hindu can call himself a proud Hindu as long as we have untouchability. In Karnataka, even a few months ago, there was a boy who was punished for entering a temple. And same thing with the Muslims. Islam, they have to educate their women, and they have to remove all their fatwas and the triple talaqs, encourage the women to mingle with become modern in their dress, modern in their thinking, and not put a fatwa on them and make them wear a hijab. She can wear it on her own. Like a Hindu woman maybe in Rajasthan wears a veil, but that should be her own voluntary. But if a young girl, today cannot wear jeans or a dress which is not obscene, but of her choice, as a Muslim girl, that hijab controversy was a needless controversy. So we have wasted a lot of time on these emotive issues, irrelevant issues to development. And along with that, there is also in Karnataka now, especially, there is also this big schism. Is a fractured society, fractured polity, fractured politics, and fractured people who are now, for example, deeply divided between the Gaudas and Lingayats. The Lingayats, for example, their founder Basavanna was probably is in the same pantheon as the Buddha. He was a Brahmin who brought in the greatest of reforms. He condemned untouchability, converted a lot of people from other communities to Lingayat Shaivism, but it was not a separate religion. But unfortunately, now whatever he did, it has now itself become a separate caste. And so the Gaudas, now the BJP openly said, one leader, then of course Mr. Amit Shah then retracted. He said, we will make a Lingayat the chief minister. Don't worry. And then the Gaudas said that, vote for us because a Lingayat is going to become a chief minister. But they have got other communities. You've got the Dalits, you have got the weaving community, you have got the potters, you have got the Kurubas, the shepherds, you have got hundreds of other communities. You have got the tribals. It was a very evolved state in terms of why do people come to Bangalore? Both immigrants or migrants. If you come into my building, the security guards are all from Assam or Northeast. Cooks are from Uttarakhand or Bihar. Then migrancy is a sign of a vibrant economy because people can freely move from these states in the north and northeast where there are not enough jobs. If you see, go to any spa, if you go to any airline, the girls are from the northeast. That is at that one level of migrants, but also in terms of investors who are coming into Bangalore and setting up companies. Why do they come to Bangalore? They come to Bangalore because it's got an ecosystem for entrepreneurship. It is a tolerant city. It is a cosmopolitan city. Kannadigas are welcoming, hospitable. In spite of the fact that the Bangalore infrastructure is crumbling today, the first thing that comes to mind internationally, on the one hand, it's Silicon Valley, but on the other hand, Bangalore is a bombed city in terms of its, there are debris everywhere, there's garbage everywhere, and traffic is a nightmare. That's what now Bangalore is more known for. But the most important is people come here in spite of everything because it is a city which is bohemian, accepting. It's got good schools, good educational institutions, and an ecosystem for entrepreneurship. It's got a social culture. It's got art. It's got music. It's got pubs, and all these, attract people to Bangalore. And I think that is in danger of being lost, going to be lost now if we do not wake up, not just for infrastructure, because as I said, no business, no development is possible without communal harmony. So we need to restore that. And the greatest poet of Kannada, he's called as the Adi Kavi. Adi is, the first poet. Pampa. He said, Manusha Kula Vande Valam. The Manava Kulam Vande Valam. There's only one caste, the human caste. That is the only truth. He said that. Kuvempu, like Tagore said, he's a poet laureate of Karnataka. He made the Kannada state anthem. He said, I have no caste. Therefore, I do not hate any other caste. And he said, Manuja Matha Vishwapatha. Path of one humanity. Vishwamanav, like Tagore said. And there is another very famous saint poet of the Pasavana period who said that, very famously, because they all had respect not only for women, of equality, gender equality, even transgender equality. He said, if a girl develops bosom and long hair, she's a woman. If a being develops bosoms and long hair, she's a woman. No, she's called a woman. If a being, you know gets beard and mustache, he's a man. No, he's known as a man. But if the soul is neither here nor there, if the soul hovers in between, that soul is as sacred. So all these our modern authors like Kuvempu or Girish Karnad, or some of them were non-believers, some of them were truly traditional, orthodox, some of them were iconoclasts like Girish Karnad and Anantapurti. All of them had one thing in common: their humanity, their love for fellow beings, their compassion transcended their orthodoxy. It transcended the religions into which they were born, or the castes into which they were born. Some of them were rooted in their soil, in their religion, but like the Sufi saints, we had a Shishunala Sharif in Karnataka, a Sufi Muslim saint. All of them, transcended their religion, which is what the greatness of Karnataka, which I think is getting lost amidst the competing politics, vote bank politics, and venality. So we have to get it back.
What are your future plans? What can we expect from you in the coming years?
I still have a aviation company, so I spent some time there. But I've got a younger CEO and a CFO who are running it, so that they have an opportunity to grow, and I don't hang on there forever. So I'm mentoring them. I'm doing something there. So like someone asked Subbalakshmi, when will you stop singing? So till her last breath, she will sing. So I'm an entrepreneur that way. So I'm trying to create something in that space, something new. I also spend some time in my farm. I keep going there. That sort of keeps me rooted to the soil and to the people there. And I spend some time writing and reading and listening to music.
What's the memory that stays back the most with you as a child? I think this is especially for our listeners, because we'd really like to know Captain Gopinath and his first dream.
Time when my father told me, I still remember, he said, I will not put you to school. We had no kindergarten and nursery in our village. We had school starting from the first till the fourth was primary, then fifth to seventh was middle school. So he said, the school is prison in any case. So you stay at home, play, and I'll teach you. And he would take me to the river. He taught me swimming, and I had to swim with the other kids. My father was a good swimmer. He was also a teacher there. Then he took me to the fields. He would always talk to me and show me not the village a rich man, what they call sahukar. He would not show me his house, ever tell me that, look at him, he's the richest man in the village, you should become like him. But he would show the Dalits who were working in the paddy fields, bare-bodied, and would sing as they planted saplings. Then he would show the women who would pluck the greens and put it into one satchel, one bag. They would put the greens and the crabs into one satchel, and the weeds collected separately and then throw it out so that it doesn't regrow. So he said, you complain about everything with your mother. You don't eat on time. If it's hot, you say it's too hot. But look at them, they are working so hard. They sing while they work. Now she's going to go home, and then she will buy the ragi, and then she'll mill it, then she'll eat. That sort of showed me that you always look at the people who are less fortunate than you, than people who are more fortunate than you. So in that sense, we were not rich, we were not poor. My father, in that sense, was a poor teacher, but not poor as a laborer. There was sunshine because there was no envy.
This was beautiful. There was sunshine and no envy. This stays back with me. Thank you so much for being on this episode, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk imandari se.